All right, everybody, welcome to this Warehouse Partners presentation for tax-advantaged investing. This is a preview to an upcoming live event. I want to thank everybody for joining and making the time. I think out of today, you'll get a good sense on Warehouse Partners strategies for tax advantage, maximizing returns, and alternative strategies for 1031. And we'll go at a rather fast pace, and I think we're here for maybe about 15-20 minutes. And I would suggest that there'll be time at the end to follow some links for further information. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into it. My name is Rob Boyce. I'm the CEO here at Warehouse Partners. Warehouse Partners has a very focused approach to multi-tenant light industrial. I've been in multi-tenant my entire life. I've come from a family from development, leasing, management, so I've always been all action. Today we're joined by my Chief Operating Officer and business partner, Aaron Volb. Hi, Aaron. Thank you for joining us today. Also, Aaron from our Fresno office.
And I would say, Rob, we have some repeat visitors today. So I think everyone on the call has been on one of our webinars before.
Terrific. It's good to see some familiar faces. And if you've joined us before, you have a good sense on what we're in for. So then we'll just jump right into it, Aaron. So I think today we're going to learn about, additional strategies and options to help maximize those returns. One of the key advantages of commercial real estate is that there's no one way to do it. And learning new tricks and methods and from other experienced investors can only make us better investors and increase our returns possibly. And we're going to find out how to use those tools to limit tax and maximize returns. So my father used to have this expression, you're supposed to pay the amount of tax that's legally available. So everything else you do, Rob, is a strategy. So anything under the sun that's legal is a method and a process. And that's what the law allows. So understanding the tips, tricks, and methodologies, we can maximize those returns. And we can avoid, marketing tricks and, advertising methodologies designed to dress up average investments to maybe show better returns than what the actuals actually say. So how do we pierce that armor and see through the noise and figure out if this is a good investment or is this a tax disadvantaged investment, or are the key metrics inflated to cover up some other key metrics that maybe would point us to the real bottom line on an investment. And I think all of us are interested in finding better and higher quality deals. And so how do we go about doing that here at Warehouse Partners? How do I go about finding deals? How does Aaron and I take a look at an investment and decide, this is worth it to run down and further analyze? Or is this one loaded with other things that, maybe would attempt to deceive us into thinking, there's returns here where maybe there's a little bit more risk involved. And I want to say, the real teachable moment is commercial real estate is a wonderful investment class. It's just as an asset, some people call it an alternative investment class. But really the thing that stands out to me and has done for many years is that the depreciation and tax advantages is something that you cannot get in other asset classes. And there are many fine assets to invest in, equities, bonds, businesses, but none of them offer the tax protections or the methodologies to protect those profits, in particular capital gains, and maximize the amount of returns you actually end up in your pocket. And I think all of us are, if we're experienced investors, have at some point maybe avoided, deferred, or delayed some capital gains or income as it relates to commercial real estate. And again, we want to do everything that's legal under the sun. And just as a quick note, this is not tax or legal advice. Please consult your legal and professional team. And I think when we meet in person, what you'll learn at the event is the hidden mechanisms. If you've joined us on a previous webinar on the internal rate of return, there are things about the internal rate of return that are great, and there are things that are more mysterious. And we're going to dive into that and how that plays into a 1031 exchange and how it plays into capital gains. We're going to talk about the hidden risks of 1031 exchange and the things that I think a lot of people on this call will know, and then some of the things that you'll find fascinating that are maybe not highlighted on investments that you typically see in the marketplace. And what is the difference between active and passive? I know that every investor on this call, whether it's being recorded and you're watching at home or you're going to join us in San Jose next week, the differences and preferences of investors is varied, and they all have pros and cons, and we'll go over those differences. And I think, long story short, the biggest benefit of being an active or passive investor is maximizing those returns, but how much effort and how much risk are associated to those two things. And that plays into understanding those hidden risk exposures that you may or may not know that you have in an investment. So when you're analyzing a deal, the returns may look great, but how much risk exposure do you have? Why are they offering, or why is this project or this piece of real estate offering such a high return? How does that play into the risk mitigation plan in your portfolio? And we'll talk about qualified opportunity zones. And a number of you have heard me talk about qualified opportunity zones in the past. And there are things that serve to confuse in terms of the benefits of opportunity zones. So simplifying those complexities and delivering a straightforward overview of qualified opportunity zones when they're beneficial and when perhaps a traditional 1031 exchange might be the right play. And I know a lot of you have been asking about depreciation and, in particular, cost segregation. And how and when do cost seg come into play, and when is the best time and when is the best method to apply those accelerated depreciation strategies and income buckets for investments. And this is something that maybe is not talked about very much, but it has a huge effect on the type of taxation on your income, and is something that all investors should be mindful of and understand how it plays out when you're looking or analyzing at a deal in terms of length, how it plays into the internal rate of return, and how you weight that risk of the investment. And I want to talk about, the innovation through alternative strategies. There's a million ways to do commercial real estate. There's no one best way. People use different strategies for different assets at different times, but we're going to pick out some of the ones that I think that will help you guys as investors drive better returns. And maybe, if you take away one thing from, an event from, WHSE Partners, whether it's in San Jose or a different city that we come to, I think those alternative strategies, understanding what you might have done in the past, and maybe you learned this one new trick that successful investors have employed in the past. I think that will be really the key takeaway is, what happens in a 1031 when I get into a jam or my exchange is falling apart, that type of thing. And for some of you, you might have a 1031 exchange that's coming up because the extension in California due to the flooding and extreme weather we've had, those are up October 16th. And as you know, a lot of investors wait till the very last minute, no matter how long the extension is, to satisfy those 1031 exchanges. So as that looming deadline approaches with no seeming extension on top of it, how does that play out into the marketplace, right? What do we think is going to happen when a lot of people are looking for 1031 exchanges at the same time? I think a lot of people understand right now finding a good deal is extremely difficult at best in this environment. And I think it'll get even harder as everybody's trying to source deals at the same time. And we'll talk about how that plays out for us as investors, how it creates opportunity, but also creates a lot of risk if you've not managed your time correctly. And so I think when we talk about maximizing gains and we talk about tax advantage investing, you got to ask yourself a couple questions. Are you missing opportunities to pay less taxes, to stretch those possible returns? Would knowing those extra options you have in a 1031 exchange, would that help you make a better strategic decision as an investor? Sometimes we get ourselves into a pinch, and knowing alternative plays, I think it always helps, kind of calm that situation and, plan B and plan C. And, really that cost seg and accelerated depreciation discussion, how is that going to play into your investments in terms of your current investment portfolio and how you look at future investments? How do we decide, this is a good investment and I'm going to apply these strategies to depreciate it and maybe even accelerate those depreciations? And so I would invite you guys to explore this and more on August 24th in San Jose at Santana Row. And that is at 5:30 p.m. and that is at Spaces, the co-working space right off of Santana Row. Please reserve your spot. Spots are limited, and if you can't make it, send us a message, give us a call, and carve out some time with me, and we can do a one-on-one Zoom. But I would look forward to seeing a number of you there. I look forward to sharing those tips, tricks, insider methodologies, and I hope that you take away some strategies to make you a better investor. And I know when I do these presentations, I always get good feedback where it makes me a better investor through talking to fellow investors who have good questions and bring different experiences to the table.
I would say this event does have a happy hour associated, so there'll be light food and drinks, and there is only 12 seats available. So if you are interested, please let us know. We'd be happy to host you and kind of go into more detail some of the topics that Rob touched upon in this preview.
Yeah, I'm excited about the location on Santana Row, and it very much is a chance to meet other investors at, while there will be a presentation, there will be, like Aaron said, it is centered around happy hour, light hors d'oeuvres, and some cocktails, and obviously some key discussion about commercial real estate. I want to thank everybody for joining me here today. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And I think Aaron will provide some links in the chat if you are wanting to schedule directly some time in San Jose, or if you're wanting to find out more information about some of the key things we discussed, or schedule a call. Again, my name is Rob Boyce, and you've met me before, and I'll look forward to meeting you in person and discussing more. And I want to thank Aaron for joining us today. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
And unless Aaron has anything else, we'll close the conversation today. And I'll look forward.
I'm going to open it up to any questions that someone might have about the topics that we're planning on discussing. Not necessarily the details, but if you would like any further clarification, you're welcome to ask now or hop on a call or email with us after this.
Aaron brings up a good point. If we are doing presentations and you don't see a city option listed near you, please let us know, and that is something that we'll take a look at. And if we have enough investors, I always like going to the investors, and so if we have enough interest, maybe a city near you sometime soon.
If there are any questions, please go ahead and unmute yourself or write them in the chat. Otherwise, we can let you guys go and hopefully see you on the 24th.
Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you again, Aaron. We'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you, guys.